For today's history video, I'd like to discuss Eisenhower's foreign policy. Presidents have long careers after their deaths, and they go up and down in favorability and popularity as new evidence emerges, new perspectives on existing evidence emerges, and history changes its mind. After all, history is an opinion of events, and those opinions change almost as readily as current political views change over current events that are happening. Eisenhower's had a very good ex-presidency, and lately his image has soared among historians. When Eisenhower took office, the Korean War was raging. Well, it wasn't raging, it was at a stalemate, but plenty of people were getting killed. And Eisenhower broke the stalemate, as I discussed 2 weeks ago in the history video, by threatening the use of nuclear weapons covertly through Nehru to Stalin, the head of India, to Stalin, the head of Russia, and Mao in China. He said unless this thing was settled, he was going to use the bomb. And it got settled a few weeks later. But the longer-term perspective on the Eisenhower administration is that when he took office, the military in the United States regarded the atomic bomb as just another weapon. Their view was that why would we say we can't use the atomic bomb? You might as well say we're not allowed to use a 500-pound bomb or a bigger bomb or a better tank or a better gun. They just simply regarded it as another weapon. And part of that was that from 1945, in August, when we exploded our bombs, until July of 1949, when the Soviet Union exploded its bomb, the United States had a monopoly on nuclear weapons. It could use them without fear of any retaliation. It's amazingly to the credit of the U.S. that we let Stalin take over half of Europe and begin to take over China without using nuclear weapons, and then fought the war in Korea without nuclear weapons. But to the generals in the Defense Department, this was stupidity. Why should we have 45,000 people get killed in Korea when we could use an atomic bomb and no Americans would get killed? When Eisenhower took office, that was the psychology in the Pentagon. And Eisenhower's main goal when he was president was to curb the spending of the military-industrial complex. He believed that the defense budget could go crazy because of fears of the Soviet Union, and that would destabilize the economy, create a huge national debt, and create a gigantic deficit. Now, from our current vantage, that certainly seems to have made some sense. And Eisenhower, who of course was a general and had been in command of the armies in World War II in Europe, said that this was just nonsense. We didn't need this huge defense establishment. We had the bomb. We could use the bomb, or we could use the threat of the bomb to achieve our objective. And if there was ever anything smaller than that, where you couldn't really do it, there was the CIA, which could engage in covert activities. And he used the CIA to topple a possibly communist regime coming in Guatemala, and he used them to stop a likely communist regime coming into power in Iran. The case on the Iranian is a bit shakier. That was probably a democratic, reasonable government. And in fact, Eisenhower put the Shah in power. Guatemala, he was probably right. But the point is that his view was that we could cut the defense budget way, way back, balance the federal budget, which he indeed did for most of his years in office, and begin to pay down the national debt, which he did. And he said that would give the U.S. a vibrant economy, which was more important than a large defense budget. And what he did during his whole administration was to play a delicate game with the use of nuclear weapons. He never used them. He never said he would use them, but he never said he wouldn't use them. And when situations arose, like the Chinese trying to take over Taiwan and shelling the offshore islands that were owned by Taiwan, he was very ambiguous as to whether he would use the bomb or not, and deployed the Navy in such a way as to suggest that he might. On the other hand, when the French begged him to use the bomb to bail them out of Vietnam, he refused. He said, "I'm not getting involved in Vietnam. It's insane." And he opposed the involvement of the United States in Vietnam privately, not publicly, during the 60s. So he kept the peace. And more importantly, even as he used the bomb as a tool in international diplomacy, he made use of the bomb increasingly unlikely, because he didn't use it in so many situations. And it was really Eisenhower's dual achievement that on the one hand, he kept the nation fiscally sound, permitting massive economic growth in the 50s and into the 60s, and at the same time, basically eliminated the concept of nuclear weapons as being just another armament. And as a result, we've not had any use of nuclear weapons since Hiroshima and Nagasaki in 1945. The seminal biography on Eisenhower was by a guy named Fred Greenspan, who wrote The Hidden Hand Presidency. And that's truly what it was. You could never tell what Eisenhower was doing, but behind the scenes, he was making it work and making it come out right. Part of that is because as Supreme Allied Commander in World War II, he was a master at secret and hidden diplomacy to get the Allies to sort of come around to do what he wanted to do without having overtly to order them to do so. Very interesting understanding of Eisenhower's presidency. Thanks for watching.